Hello there, everyone. If you're watching this video, then you are part of the TTOR army, an army that is building itself up one subscriber at a time. Now, before we get into the topic of today's video, I'd like to talk to you briefly about something that's very important. YouTube censorship has been a thing since at least 2015, 2016, and it's only getting worse over time, which makes all the different YouTube alternatives that have sprang up over the last several years all that more important. But there are two alternatives to YouTube that I use that you should definitely follow me on and watch my content on. And the first one up on the docket is none other than Rumble. Rumble, which you can see here on screen, is a YouTube alternative that is owned by the media company that is run by Donald Trump. In other words, Rumble is Evil Orange Man's YouTube alternative, technically speaking. And there's a lot of people using Rumble. It's not as many people as use YouTube, obviously, but we're talking hundreds of millions of site visitors every month. We're talking millions upon millions upon millions of registered users. You have channels with millions of subs, channels with hundreds of thousands of subs, and etc. I mean, I'm actually experiencing channel growth here on Rumble. I'm currently at 80 subscribers on the channel, and I get awesome views on my videos, especially when I do live streams. And then there's been a couple of videos that have gone viral relative to my channel here on Rumble. When you go scrolling through my Rumble library, what you'll see in a lot of cases is that my Rumble videos, which are the same videos that I upload to YouTube, minus the live streams, they get generally the same views, or they get a lot more views. Like, for example, my recent video, Dan McSellen Lies About the Bible and Homosexuality. That video has been out for 9 days on both YouTube and Rumble. On YouTube, the video doesn't even have 40 views, but here on Rumble, it's approaching 400 views during the same time span. So obviously, Rumble is a happening place, especially for content creators like myself. So if you're a fan of TTOR content and you want to follow me on Rumble and you want to see my live streams live instead of after the fact, subscribe to my Rumble channel today and share my Rumble videos and check it out. The other site that you should check out is Quarter. Quarter is an open source alt tech alternative to YouTube that I started in May of 2022. And it is still a small site, but I own it. I run it. I handle everything. And my friend Josh handles the tech side of things when I need help with that. But if you're looking for real freedom of speech, Quarter is where it's at. I mean, Quarter is more free speech than even sites like Rumble are. Basically, as long as you're not uploading porn, and as long as you're not a terrorist group or a terrorist, you're allowed to be here on Quarter and you can say and do whatever you want. Because that's the same kind of freedom I give myself, and I give that freedom to everyone else on Quarter. Plus, Quarter has all the features and functionality you would want from a YouTube-like site, such as full-on HD video uploads, including 4K capacity, and there's live streaming, free restreaming, public playlists, easy-to-use comment moderation system. You got search filters that you don't have on YouTube that are really cool. You have Quarter Bucks, which is an insight currency that you can use to promote your entire channel or individual videos on the front page of the Quarter site. And of course, you have live video chat rooms where you can do video calling with anybody, and you can live stream to your channel from these rooms. So if you want a feature-rich, functional alternative to YouTube that champions freedom of speech in the purest sense, I would join Quarter today. So now that you know about Rumble and now that you know about my Quarter channel, let's talk about today's video, which is this article I came across on reclaimthenet.org involving, well, my home state and some shenanigans that they're getting into. The article is titled, Oregon Lawmakers Sue to Halt Misinformation Contracts Against Election-Related Speech. Subtitle says, Pushing Back Against Censorship. This article came out the day after Christmas last month, so it's been a couple weeks. But it's still relevant. Let's read the article, though. A legal battle is currently unfolding in the state of Oregon as local legislators, along with other parties such as radio show hosts and Republican Party representatives, are suing government officials in an attempt to prevent them from intervening in what is referred to as false election information. The lawsuit, which represents a bold stand against censorship, was launched against Democratic Governor Tina Kotek, Secretary of State Lavon Griffin-Volade, and Elections Director Molly Woon. The lawsuit's central accusation is that the state is effectively intending to mute any critique or disapproval of its electoral process under the guise of mitigating unfounded election-related claims. The plaintiffs previously attempted a peaceful resolution over a phone call, but to no avail, leading to them seeking an urgent court injunction. The dispute revolves around an initiative called Election False Information Solution put forth by Griffin-Volade, an unfulfilled proposal meant to counter disinformation. Despite the deadline of October 27th, the project has yet to be implemented. The plaintiffs argue that Oregon's intimidation tactics, which includes imposing a $10,000 fine on anyone spreading false election information, were signed into law in 2021. According to the official documents, these punitive measures are put in place against those making false statements regarding various electoral matters. And of course, we have a link to the actual petition, which you can see right here on the screen. It is filed by Stephen J. Joncas from the Oregon Bar, from Joncas Law PC, United States District Court for the District of Oregon, Portland Division. And it is case number 323-CV-1639-HZ. Let's go into the document a little bit so you can see what it's about. It says, the parties made a good faith effort through a telephone conference to resolve the dispute and have been unable to do so. Motion. Plaintiffs move for a preliminary injunction order prohibiting defendants from surveilling and or suppressing speech concerning alleged misinformation, disinformation, or malinformation. This includes an order halting any performance of work pursuant to the Secretary of State's office request for proposal titled Election False Information Solution. Oh, and by the way, you can see here that the defendants are Tina Kotek, Lavon Griffin-Volade, and Molly Woon. But let's get back to this. Introduction. Oregon seeks to sign a contract to identify and mitigate harmful information online as it relates to elections, mis, dis, and malinformation, or MDM. The alleged harmful information is only harmful in the sense that it damages the credibility of Oregon's repeated claims that its elections are safe and secure. Like authoritarians since time immemorial, Oregon seeks to suppress and silence those who disagree with its message, in violation of the First Amendment. The state of Oregon only exists to serve the people for whom it works. Oregon is prohibited from interfering in the public speech criticizing Oregon's elections or any other matter. Oregon's election false information solution is a blatant violation of the First Amendment of the United States Constitution. And then you have the summary of facts where they talk about the actual bill that's detailing all of this and why it's wrong. And it gets really interesting. But we're going to skip to Argument A, which I found to be very interesting. Argument A. Oregon's elections false information solution blatantly violates free speech rights. The First Amendment embodies the principle that each person is free to decide for him or herself the ideas and beliefs deserving of expression, consideration, and adherence. Elections are of the most fundamental significance under our form of government. Elections are how the people govern themselves. Elections are the lifeblood of a democracy. Of course, we're a constitutional republic, not a democracy, but whatever. There is no right more basic in our democracy than the right to participate in electing our political leaders. The right to vote is a fundamental political right. The right to have one's vote counted is as strong as the right to put a ballot in the ballot box. It is axiomatic that speech concerning public affairs is more than self-expression, it is the essence of self-government. The First and 14th Amendments embody our profound national commitment to the principle that debate on public issues should be uninhibited, robust, and wide open, and that it may very well include vehement, caustic, and sometimes unpleasantly sharp attacks on government and public officials. Oregon is categorically prohibited from doing anything that chills the uninhibited, robust, and wide open debate concerning elections. Simply an awareness that Oregon is watching chills expressive freedoms because the government's unrestrained power to assemble information about individuals is susceptible to abuse. The chilling effect of Oregon's election false information solution is inherent in the very concept of surveilling the public's speech on elections. A person of ordinary firmness, knowing that he could be targeted by Oregon for criticizing its elections, would think twice about speaking. Such chilling of speech violates the First Amendment and is unconstitutional. Oregon's plan to surveil the public is enough by itself to constitute an unconstitutional infringement of free speech. Yet Oregon goes even further to state its intention to combat free speech. Oregon's elections false information solution refers to citizen free speech in military terms, threat detection, early notification systems, and target. These terms not only indicate that the government is watching, but that it plans to take action against those who it considers are spreading dismiss or malinformation, including referring them to law enforcement. The government's plan to take action against those who they disagree is overtly and expressly stated. Its purpose is to mitigate harmful information, target it, disarm it, and to employ countermeasures. Moreover, the harm referred to by Oregon is not a real injury. The harm that Oregon identifies is merely the loss in credibility of its own message that elections are free and fair. Like every tyrant in history, Oregon cannot stand that its pronouncements are contradicted. So, like every propagandist and authoritarian in history, Oregon seeks to deter and silence those who disagree with its message. Oregon has no power to chill speech because of its message, its ideas, its subject matter, or its content. The Constitution demands that content-based restrictions on speech be presumed invalid and that the government bear the burden of showing their constitutionality. And there's a lot more to this document, but basically you get the point by now. My home state of Oregon is looking to suppress any kind of political dissent or any kind of questioning over the validity of Oregon's election processes by basically fining people $10,000 for any comments they make online regarding those things. Basically, if you criticize the government at all and you criticize how the elections take place, they are going to punish you with big fines. In other words, the Oregon government, the state of Oregon, is trying to get people like me to shut up whenever they do something that's blatantly illegal or unconstitutional regarding elections and how they conduct them. That's what the state's really trying to do right now. But as dark and dystopian as the government of Oregon is, as dark and dystopian and downright authoritarian as Oregon lawmakers are, I'm not really worried. Why? Because I'm not a citizen of this state, I'm not a citizen of this country, and I'm not a citizen of this world. I belong to the Lord. I am a follower of Jesus. The kingdom I belong to is not of this world. It's coming in the future when Jesus comes back to destroy the globalists and establish his kingdom on earth. That's the kingdom I am a citizen of. So because that is where I'm ultimately going to end up, I'm not ultimately that concerned about this, even though it's as dark and dystopian as we've ever seen. But that's just the way things work when you put your faith and your trust in the Lord. He is your shepherd. He is your protector. He will be with you through all of this, no matter what happens. And the Lord never lets us go. No one can snatch us out of his hand. And because that is the way things are when you belong to the Lord, I feel safe knowing that God is with me through all this craziness. Doesn't mean I won't have things to say. Doesn't mean I won't try to make more people aware of stuff like this, but I know how it's all going to end ultimately, and I'm not worried since I know how it's all going to end. And hopefully, you guys can get your own relationships with Jesus if you haven't already, and you can understand the peace and the security and the comfort that comes from submitting to the God who knows the end from the beginning.